Three, two, one.
Hello!
Hello.
Welcome to A Rum with a View,
Mm,
which is two aging nerds talking about the films they love to the best of their recollection while drinking rum. Why did I put my rum down? I have to do my
no.
little mime there. I'm Stu.
And I'm Alan.
Alan, what is today's film?
It is 2000, the year 2000's Memento by Christopher Nolan.
We, the year 2000. Now, we,
I
we remember
know.
when that was still the future, don't we?
Mm,
Yes, first released in the year 2000. It's the
hmm.
second feature film directed by Christopher Nolan,
Yeah.
adapted from a short story by his brother
By his brother.
Jonathan.
Yeah.
It's a neo-noir thriller
Mm,
about a man called Leonard Shelby who's trying to get revenge for the murder of his wife, which
mm,
is a pretty standard sort of noir premise.
yeah.
And he's helped by a woman called Natalie and a man called
Mm,
Teddy.
yeah.
But
With a very
but there are
interesting twist.
two
Mm,
very interesting twists. One of them, Leonard has let me get this right,
okay.
anterograde amnesia,
Hmm.
which means because he had a knock on the head, which means he can't make new memories.
Hmm.
He can remember everything from like before the accident, but he
Yeah.
can't he can't make he can only remember for about 20 minutes since the
Hmm.
accident. Which is a great idea for a movie, isn't it, for a
That's
story?
brilliant. It really
Uh,
is.
and the second thing
Mm,
is that the scenes of the film play
mm,
out in reverse order.
yes.
I don't mean they go backwards.
Hmm.
I don't mean
No, no,
that.
not that.
The last scene is the opening scene of the movie. The first scene is the closing scene of the movie.
Exactly.
How weird and confusing must that have been?
It was. Yeah, I do remember seeing it when it came out.
Yeah,
So yeah,
did
I
we?
mean, did we see it together? Or
I was trying to remember because I can't remember
well,
that. I
is
think I
is it
saw
on
it at
your
the
list?
cinema.
Is it on your list, or is it was
I
that
didn't start keeping my records
I
until a
thought
bit
so,
later, I'm
yeah.
afraid.
Right,
I keep
okay then.
records of when I
So
went to the cinema.
is that much of a
Nerd!
nerd? I do remember seeing it at the cinema. And I remember coming out straight away and saying to the person I was with, yeah, I want to go see that again.
I
Mm,
remember it coming out. I remember being excited by the premise. Thinking, that sounds like a really
yes,
interesting movie.
exactly, yeah.
Um, but I don't, and I would have wanted to go and see it at the cinema. I just
Mm,
can't remember for certain if I did. And I recently, 2 weeks
mm.
ago, in fact, I bought it on Blu-ray after you put
Yeah.
it back on the shelf at FOP in London's glittering
Well,
West End, Covent Garden.
I wanted to get so yeah. Well, I have yeah, yeah. So this is
Now that, yes,
mm,
there's
so
a
this
difference,
is the
isn't there?
DVD copy from 2000s from its original release. So this is a special three disc version from when it was actually released, and I tracked this one down because there's a very special Easter egg in here because you can watch the movie in kind of forwards. But what I liked about the original one as well was obviously it's the original, so you've got interviews and commentaries from that time. So I'm
Hmm.
actually intrigued because obviously you've got like a modern version of it on Blu-ray. So like, what are your extras? Have you got sort of like old kind of like interviews with Christopher
I think
Nolan
it's
and
Yeah, well,
um,
it says on the disc, on the packaging, it says brand new extras, and then it
mhm.
says archive extras.
Right,
So
okay
I
then,
would
yeah.
imagine the brand new extras are
Mm,
newly made,
yeah.
newly minted interviews, etc. And the
Hmm.
archive extras is stuff, so you can see, how many
Yeah,
how many more chins Christopher Nolan's grown in the
exactly.
intervening
Yeah.
25 years.
No.
Like I can
Um,
bloody talk.
because obviously I've got like, interviews from like different TV shows that were around at that time as well, which is really quite interesting. And you get
Oh,
to,
on the thing.
yeah, on the thing. So it's like lots of different interviews that Nolan did because it was quite a big thing when it came out. It got quite a bit
Mm.
of, notoriety and rightly so because it was really quite interesting for its time.
Oh, it's no, it's
So
interesting for any time. It's
I know it's a
interesting. It's an
brilliant
int-
film.
it's
So
a
yeah.
it's a I don't know if it's the only. I don't know if it's the only film or even the first film to sort of do this. I'm sure
Mm,
it isn't actually. I'm sure there are other examples,
yeah.
um, but I think it was a very popular one, and it sort of
Well, I was
it
actually
really
going to
and
ask.
of course it kick-started the career of a major new filmmaker and everything. So
Exactly,
it's
yeah.
kind of remembered for that reason. But I think it's yeah, certainly it was for us, for our
Mm.
generation. It was like, wow, that's really interesting. And
The scenes are placed in the backward sort of position. So when the scene ends, you get the next scene is actually from the scene before it, which is a
they sort of
really
overlap,
lovely
don't they?
way.
A
They
little
overlap,
overlap,
so
so
you
you know
kind
where
of
you
get.
are.
but it's a lovely way of actually, keeping your confusion within the movie in the same way that Leonard is obviously got lots of confusion with his own memory. But the point I was going to ask you is, going back to one of our previous reviews, Pulp Fiction, from the likes, because obviously when Pulp Fiction came out, as we were talking about, so much things changed. Do you think almost the idea of this movie might not have happened or happened in a different way if it wasn't for something like Pulp Fiction?
Well, I dare
And
say
the
Pulp
way that
Fiction would
that
have
was
been.
edited and the way that the story was cut up into
Yeah,
different
they did a
segments.
similar thing, didn't they,
Yeah.
with certain
Hmm.
overlapping like lines of
Mm.
dialogue from different perspectives, like when the guy's hiding in the bathroom when
Yeah.
Jules is doing his speech, so you hear the speech again,
Yeah.
the Bible
Exactly.
speech, and
Hmm.
then or recital, and then he sort of comes and you hear it from through the door
Mm.
and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's perhaps a bit more imaginatively done in Pulp Fiction,
Mm.
but whereas I think in this case, in Memento's case, it's more like it's a mnemonic for the
Yeah.
audience, so we know where we are. It sort of helps, it
Yeah.
sort of holds our hand through it a little bit. I feel like if they
It
didn't
does.
have that, we'd have a hard time remembering where we were.
Oh,
Which
definitely.
is because the thing is the whole point of the structure is, as you say, is to kind of like put us in Leonard's shoes
Yeah.
to sort of disorientate us as well and have us be like,
Mm.
hang on a minute, where are we?
Yeah. What was going
What was I
on?
thinking?
Yeah.
It's testing our memory as well.
Which is
But
brilliant. I love
it
that.
does, but it does sort of take pity on us a little bit by having these repeated lines so that we can sort of glue it
No,
back together in our
exactly.
minds. Okay, that's
Yeah.
the end of the previous scene, and now we're at
Hmm.
the beginning of the new scene, or
You
whatever,
see,
whichever way around it is. I'm
exactly.
not even
It
sure I've
does
got
hold
that
your
right.
hand a little bit. What
Yeah,
was quite interesting in some of
but
the
I'm glad it does. Is
interviews.
the point I
Yeah,
was making.
exactly. What was interesting, what Nolan said in one of the original sort of interviews is,
Hmm.
critics were saying at the time that this was a film without a kind of a standard linear, and he sort of argued and said, well, no, it does have a linear. We've just got the linear in reverse order.
So, have you actually watched the forward version, the
Yes, I
chronological
have.
cut?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't. Right. Okay.
Right, I have. And
How did it sort of? I mean,
I'm
obviously
not.
it differed,
Get your
but
spoiler card up, please.
oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for the warning.
If you haven't watched this, and you are interested about watching the forward version, the original's better. Okay, don't get me wrong. It's interesting to watch it in a chronological order, but it doesn't feel as exciting and as interesting as a watch when you're watching it where it's out of sequence, and you're trying to play catch up and you're trying to play right. What's going on here? How is this going to connect to the next thing? What have I remembered about the previous scene? You've got to work through
Yeah,
this
got to
movie
engage with it more.
where when you watch it in a chronological order, and it's still interesting to watch because you get to see how the whole thing pans out, it's too easy to watch. So I much
Does it
prefer
make the
the
film more
original.
conventional then? Does it make it? Does it sort of
Yeah,
reveal the because the actual plot is,
it's
like I said,
pretty
it's a pretty
standard and
standard.
straightforward.
It's a well told one, but it is quite a
Yes,
standard sort of noir story, isn't
exactly.
it?
So I
So does
prefer
it seem
the.
more ordinary when you
It
watch it
just seems
forwards?
very, very
Right.
ordinary.
I mean, the film is made the way it is for a reason. So the
Yes,
actual film
exactly.
is the original theatrical cut in
Yeah,
reverse order.
exactly.
The chronological cut is not really a film. It's
No.
like an experiment to see what it would look like that way. A bit
Yeah.
like the conversation. And I know I know we kind of disagree on this, but what the point I was trying to make when we did the Superman episode,
Mm.
about Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut, I don't
Yeah.
regard that
Hmm.
as a film. I regard that as an
Right.
experiment to see what would have happened if we'd been able to.
Mm.
This to me would be a similar thing. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know about the effect because I haven't watched the chronological cut of Memento, but
Mm.
I have seen the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2, and as interesting as it is, and it is a
Mm.
fascinating watch if you're a fan of those movies, but I don't see that as a film. I see it
Yeah.
as a DVD, a really interesting DVD extra.
No,
Can I
exactly.
put the
I mean,
spoiler card away?
you can put the spoiler card away.
Thank you.
But yeah,
I don't think you spoiled anything there, but anyway.
no, no, but well,
Well, he
it's
spoiled the
out there.
chronological cut, I suppose, but
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I mean, it's still worth watching if you're a bit of a movie nerd like we are, and or
I will watch it at some point. I will
if
watch
you
it at some point.
find this movie too difficult to follow, then there's an easier version out there.
So that's yeah, it works like that. It's
So
Memento for dummies.
yeah.
Let's talk about the look of the film.
Yes.
The cinematography by Wally Pfister, who I think was
Hmm. Yeah.
Christopher Nolan's regular cinematographer until
Yeah.
I don't think on every film, but certainly for the time being, for the next
Yeah.
few films. It's all shot in because it's set in LA, so it's all
Hmm.
constant bright sunshine. Mostly, I think the entire film takes place during the day. I think,
Yes,
even
yeah.
though LA
There
noir,
are
nighttime LA, shining streets. There's none of
one
that.
scene
It's
where
all kind of.
he's setting fire, he's lighting some
Oh
old
yes, you're
memorabilia
right.
sort of stuff. That's at
To his
night,
mementos
and
of his
one of the
wife. Yeah.
bedroom scenes when he hires an escort girl to pretend to be his
Yes.
wife, and yeah, so he
Yes.
wakes up in the middle of the night. Yeah, so bit weird,
I forgot
but
about. Oh
yeah, I
yeah,
can
no, you're right. There are
understand.
a couple, but
Yeah,
for the most part, 90% of the film is
90%
in
all in daytime. Yeah, so bright
bright,
colors.
bright
Yeah,
sunshine. Ironic counterpoint,
yeah.
isn't it, to how
I
how
think
in the
that
dark Leonard is.
I think the reason why that is kind of to simulate this, when you wake up, and particularly if it's like the summertime with us in the UK,
You wake up,
it's you wake up
yeah,
and it's bright lights and you get
already.
disorientated because
And
it's so bright. I think
especially
it's
this time of year when we're at the time
yeah,
of recording, it's like March,
hmm
late March, and it's kind
yeah.
of yeah,
And
yeah.
our
I know
clocks are
exactly what you
about to
mean. Yeah.
change. I think that's what they were trying to portray. I could be completely wrong with this, of
No,
course,
I think that's an
but
interesting point because
um,
light is usually
mm,
used to sort of signify clarity
yeah,
and all that kind of thing. And here, of course, it's used to actually blind him in a way. It kind of it's
exactly,
too bright. It's too kind
yeah,
of like everything's too shiny, and I can't. Everything's
mm,
so bright and shiny, I can't make any of it out. It's too.
no, exactly.
And also with the set with it being sort of almost entirely daylight, there's a sense of
Mm.
time never
Mm.
advancing. There's a line of dialogue where he says, "I don't even know how long she's been gone."
Yes, yeah, and time is a big, I think, fundamental thing on about this movie as well. So,
Mm.
as you mentioned, we don't know how much time has passed
Mm.
between when his wife has passed away, which is the earliest memory he has.
Well,
So
the most recent memory,
the
yeah.
recent memory
Well, the
he,
proper
yeah,
memory, yeah.
and
Because sorry, just to clarify for people who haven't seen it, it's because when
mm,
it's in the backstory that when his wife was murdered, he was
mhm,
in the house and like
yeah,
he sort of surprised the killer
woke up,
and
yeah,
the killer hit him on the head and that's how he got his yeah. So
exactly.
anyway, I
So
just said it because
yeah,
we didn't clarify
time
that
is
before.
a massive thing in this film because obviously with him, every 15 to 20 minutes, that's it, the clock starts again. It's quite
For him, it
sad.
could have happened. It could have happened a decade ago, or it could have
Yeah,
happened
well,
last
this
week.
is
He
the
just
thing we
doesn't
don't,
know,
and this is the other thing that's
and we
really
don't know
quite
either.
nice. We don't know. He can never heal from
Mm.
this. With any of us that experience things in life, like a breakup of a relationship or a bereavement or anything like that, we know that time heals. It's not that time heals; it's we learn to get on, carry on with our own life, and move on with things. We won't forget that big thing that's happened to us, but our perception of time as we live through things means that we can deal with it and it is part of the healing process. But yeah, time is a massive thing in this. I mean, with it, memory, you cannot have memory without time. If
Yeah,
time
yeah,
wasn't able to pass, we couldn't create memories. And in some
and
ways,
that is
that's what I'm
exactly
saying
Leonard's
is
problem.
he cannot
Yeah,
perceive time because he cannot make new memories.
yeah.
So
He can
he
only
can
perceive 20
never
minutes at a time, or
so
whatever it
for
is.
him, he's always got the anger. He's always got the resentment. He's always got that passion, that drive to find his wife's killer. Memory is subjective. Um, there's a really interesting scene where Leonard and Teddy are in a diner and they're
Mm.
talking about memory and
Quite early on, isn't it, in the film?
it
I
is
think
quite early on.
first
It's
act,
really
maybe.
quite
Yeah.
interesting, and again, this touched a thing with me because I think when it came out, I had actually recently done another one of my stints of jury service, and um, it was quite interesting because obviously, in the court of law, you're asking witnesses to, replay and tell them about what happened at certain things.
Yes.
And memory is subjective. And in a court
Yes.
of law, memory cannot be held as fact. Our emotions play a massive thing on our memories as well. So it is really, it's a very interesting film to kind of like start getting you thinking about lots of different aspects about time, memory, people.
And it can only really, well, not only, but probably the best art form for dealing with this subject matter is
Mm,
cinema.
yes.
Because cinema
Yeah.
is all
Hmm.
about memory, and people talk about films as being like dreams and all that kind of
Hmm.
thing. And when you sort of close your eyes and you think back to a memory, or you daydream, because when you daydream, you're often daydreaming your memories, aren't you? Memories of
Yeah.
experiences you've had,
Hmm.
or whatever, and or things you'd like to happen, fantasies, and that is what cinema is, put on a
Mm.
massive, great screen and shown to the public. For more on Alan's jury duty, please see our 12 Angry Men video. He talked about it quite a lot then as well.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And it's very interesting, actually. It was very
Thank
interesting.
you.
The other thing,
Mm.
as we said, the script is, or the film is, it tells the story in reverse order. The scenes
Mm.
are in, reverse sequence.
Yeah.
But in between each scene, there's this
Mm.
kind of thread of this sort of scenes of or this one long scene cut into bits of apparently, or maybe not, of
Mm.
Leonard in his hotel room
Hmm.
talking on the phone to somebody and having this
Yes.
inner monologue with himself, which sometimes you
Mm.
hear the inner monologue when he's, for plot purposes, when he's in the main
Yeah.
scenes as well. And
Hmm.
those and this and it sort of intercuts little bits of this with a kind of weird kind of thing on the soundtrack, a sort of slightly different soundtrack
Yes.
effect on it as
Yeah.
well. So it's
Hmm.
kind of and they're shot in black and white as well.
Mm.
And I was sort of
Yeah, I love
wondering,
that.
I love it too. But
Mm.
what I thought was interesting was at first I was watching it thinking, okay, so like, is the idea that the color main sequence stuff is the unreliable memory, the sort of unreliable
Mm.
narrator thing, and maybe the
Yeah.
black and white stuff is more, maybe that's the only, are they the only true bits? And as the film goes
Mm.
on, I don't think it's not as simple as that.
No.
Again, as the film progresses, by the end you'll see what I mean. Stu's got the spoiler card out and he can't remember
Yeah.
why.
Yeah. He's lost his
That's how good
memory.
this film is.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so the black and white stuff,
Mm.
yeah, it kind of, yeah. Well, I won't say anymore, but it does it. Yeah, my idea about this being the
Yeah.
true bits, it's
I
kind of
I really
maybe a
like
bit
it
of a red
because
herring.
it gives a bit more of a rigidity to the structure of the movie because obviously you've got
They're
the
the
color
cement, aren't they,
scenes
holding the bricks
exactly
together?
the
Yeah,
cement of like in some ways the linear of the movie. You know, we have discussed that it is linear but
yeah,
backwards,
because those bits go forwards.
but
Yes, sorry, I meant
it
to say,
gives a
yeah, yeah,
continuity for the audience to actually go right, okay, and an
like a framing
understanding
device. Yeah.
because it's also an understanding about the condition as well, and where he's talking about his past life, where he used to be a insurance investigator,
Yes,
and he's
there's a lot
using
of exposition in those
his
sequences.
skills
Yeah.
as in a
Well,
sorry, I'm getting
detective,
something.
really.
Yeah, he is. He's
That's
using
what
these sort of
it's kind of
detective
detective
skills.
skills. Yeah, yeah,
Um, but what's really really nice is you're right. It's sometimes as well. It's quite a high angled view, so it's almost like a CCTV camera view of the
yes, yeah.
hotel
They
room,
called it
which
the
is
hotel
really
room. Yeah,
really cool. And yeah, the background sounds are very different from the rest of the movie as well.
yeah. It's more sort of
Um,
avant-garde
so
kind of
it's really kind
ambient
of
sort of
like
sound.
cut it
Yeah,
out,
music.
and it almost looks like they used because obviously it is black and white anyway, but it does look like a different film stock. It looks like a lower grain quality. Um,
I'm
sh
not sure if it is. I mean, well, I'll defer
I'm
to
not
your
sure if it is,
superior
but
knowledge
they've
on that, but
made
it
it
didn't look like that
look.
to me. But you're probably right. I don't know.
But it does look at sort of like slightly less quality to the rest of the color footage. But yeah,
And of
it's
course,
just.
it's dispersed with it as well, and so
Mhm.
it's kind of you're putting it right next to it as well, so it looks more It's a start. You see that stark contrast, don't you?
Exactly. There is in it a latter scene that's still in black and white where it ties everything together. It helps
This is why I got the
bring,
spoiler card out.
yeah, where it brings the footage you've already seen
Yeah,
that's been in reverse. And
yeah,
actually, what I love about this movie, and we both mentioned this before, is that the beginning scene of the movie is actually the end scene of the movie. They are the
yeah.
same. So,
And while I've got the spoiler card out, I might as well
mm,
point out that these black and white sequences, it
mhm,
turns out that that is actually the beginning of the film.
mm,
And
exactly.
that's actually
Yeah,
that's actually flashback structure, and it's all. I mean,
yeah,
Christopher Nolan's famous now for doing things with a kind of jigsaw puzzle structure.
yeah,
Batman Begins, and I
yeah.
think uh, what's the other obvious one that I can't call to mind all of a sudden? Oppenheimer
Tenant,
actually has that. A lot of his films have that
yeah,
kind of
Tenant as
these
well. So, yeah.
elaborate flashback structures. The film's, as I say, it's set in LA, and
Hmm.
it's kind of quite a grotty part of the city. It's kind
Yeah.
of shabby, nondescript hotels and bars,
The
and
discount inn.
nowhere memorable. There's
Yeah,
no sort of
exactly. Yeah.
famous landmarks or anything like that.
Hmm.
Um, there's a bit of color theory going on, isn't there? There's a lot of
Yeah.
blue in the film. I
Lots
mean,
of
a
blue.
lot of blue. Now I looked at, which is why you're in
Yeah.
a blue shirt.
Sure.
Now I looked
Yeah.
up color theory
Yes.
for blue, and
Hmm.
blue signifies sadness and
Hmm.
aloofness,
Yep.
uh, which kind of, well, the sadness at least ties into the idea of bereavement because he's mourning the
Hmm.
death of his wife
Yep.
in this awful kind of way, really.
Mm.
But it also signifies calmness and relaxation, which is kind of ironic given
Yeah.
how
Exactly.
calm and relaxed he sort of, I mean, much as he sort of comes off as, you know, like he maybe is kind of calm and relaxed a lot of the time. He doesn't sort of just run around
Mm.
like a headless chicken all the time, but still we know that this must be a bizarre experience for him
Yeah,
psychologically and
exactly.
emotionally. So it's kind
Um,
of ironic, isn't it, in that sense?
it is interesting because, and again, in some of the production notes that were on the DVD with the extras that I went through, you actually got to see the color palette of what they used, and it is very blue, a little bit of green, very beigey. So his suit is
Pastels, isn't
basically
it?
the
A lot of
pastels.
pastel
It's very
colours, yeah.
pastely sort of color, even to the point where the car that he's driving, the
Yep.
green Jaguar, it is caked in dirt and dust on purpose to kind of tone it all down. So,
Yeah. I wondered if it was
um,
blue at first, but his car's actually
no,
green, isn't it?
it is dark
But
green.
then he does drive a blue truck.
Does the
And he
blue
has,
truck?
I made a list if you want to
Yeah,
hear it.
no,
He wears a blue shirt. He's
yep,
got blue eyes. He's got
yep,
Natalie and Teddy have got blue eyes as well.
yep, exactly.
Natalie's jewelry and
hmm
her vest, a dark blue
Yeah,
vest. Hotel room walls and doors are also the
hmm
upholstery in the diner. You're talking about the diner
yep,
scene with Leonard and Teddy,
hmm
the upholstery and the shipping container outside the
yeah,
car. Leonard and Teddy
hmm
are talking in again.
yeah,
There's during the scene where that's not really a spoiler. During the scene where you
mm,
see the attack on his wife, on Leonard's
yes,
wife, he sort of has a
hmm
flashback. Uh, you see like bath salts breaking open all over the
exactly.
bathroom
Yeah, and
floor.
they're
They're all
blue.
blue.
Yeah,
But there's also, I mean, he said there's other colors in there. There's quite a bit of
mm,
yellow as well, kind of
yes, yellowy,
tempering the blue,
beigey. Yeah,
which
khaki sort of color.
signifies, yeah, there's lots of
hmm
bits of yellow. Again, that Leonard's peroxide blonde hair,
Yep. hmm
which we know is peroxide because it's unnatural. Because Guy Pearce was a well-known enough actor that we know he's
Yeah.
normally got brown hair. If they
hmm
cast an unknown actor, that might not have
Yeah.
registered so much. The LA sunlight,
hmm
the light is so yellow. The hotel room lampshades against the blue walls he uses yellow
hmm
pages. Polaroids
Yes.
before they develop, are they yellow?
No, they're orangey. They're
Oh,
generally
okay.
orange.
That's
Yeah.
close enough.
hmm
Yellow signifies optimism, perhaps
hmm
optimism that will get his revenge.
Yep.
His
Exactly.
optimism that he'll get his own back. That's
hmm
that's his mission. But also it also signifies overstimulation and anxiety, which is kind of what he gets with each new
Yes.
complication, isn't it, of
hmm
the plot? Which
Yeah.
are numerous as the film develops, even though it's developing
Mm.
backwards. The script, it's an absolutely brilliant
Oh,
script. It's
brilliant.
ingeniously structured. As we said, this the sort of main story, the main plot goes
Mm.
backwards, and that's the color scenes, the forward,
Yeah.
the backward scenes. But
Yeah.
then you've also got the black and white forward
The
scenes
teens. Yeah.
interspersed with it, and the information and details from the one kind of start feeding
Mm.
into the other one, like a Robber
Yeah.
Ross snake feeding on itself.
What one thing I love about this as well is the story of Sammy Jenkins is constantly going
Yes,
through all the way through the movie, and
yeah.
it's this kind of it's the
Should we
anchor.
just explain who he is? Because he's a
Yeah.
character that
hmm
Leonard reminisces about
Yeah.
because this is a memory that he does have from before the accident, from when he was an
hmm
insurance investigator. And Sammy Jankis was a character who
Has the same
uh,
condition.
he
Yeah.
has the same condition,
hmm
and Leonard was trying to for the insurance company to not have to pay out. He was trying to prove that Sammy didn't have this condition. He was making it up. That he was faking
Mm.
it. It's mainly a plot device, but
Mm.
really the scenes. I mean, the scenes with Sammy and his wife, because Sammy's wife has diabetes and he has to give her
Yeah.
regular insulin
Just
injections. And
injections.
because
Yeah.
he
hmm
remembers how to do that from before he
Yeah.
started getting his condition, so he knows how to do it.
Yeah.
Um, but there's a brilliant scene
Mm.
that sort of resolves their story because
hmm
she's kind of gets so frustrated with this impossible life that the man she
Mm.
loves is kind of like she he's got this. So she's basically decides to take her own life
Nice. Yeah.
by getting Sammy to do it,
Yeah.
because so she uses his faulty memory
hmm
to make him think that he hasn't, because basically she says it's time for
Yeah.
my injection. He gets up and does
Well,
the injection.
it was
Then
also a
she leaves it a
test.
minute
Yeah.
and gets him to give her another
Yeah.
injection like 4 or 5 times in a row, and she overdoses and dies.
Because
And it's
again,
like,
she's got to a point in this stage in their relationship that she just can't move forwards. She can't
mm.
do anything with Sammy,
because
and she
not got
can't
she's not got the
believe.
memory problem and he has, and they're just
Yeah,
incompatible
exactly. And she
because of
can't
it.
believe the fact that if he loved her, he wouldn't be doing this to her. So in some
Yeah,
ways, she's doing this as a final test to go,
yeah,
right, Sammy,
exactly.
are you kind of putting this on, or is this actually real? And if it is real,
Yeah.
I cannot live with this any longer. So,
So
as you're
yeah.
right, every 15
And
minutes
if you're
she
faking it,
says,
you won't do it. You'll stop. You'll
if you're
give up. You'll
faking it
say
and
you'll
you
admit
love
it.
me, you won't kill me.
You'll admit it.
So,
Yeah.
which
And he
kills her.
doesn't understand what's
He
happened. He
doesn't know
just
what he's
and he
doing.
just breaks down,
Yeah.
and
And
it's
it
absolutely
is
heartbreaking.
absolutely heartbreaking. It's an
It's one of the
amazing scene. And
it's one of the few times I've been emotionally moved by a Christopher Nolan film,
yeah,
because that's not really what he does,
no.
in my opinion.
And what I really liked about some of these black and white scenes as well is obviously you're
Oh,
seeing
because those are in black and white. Those
they're
scenes with
in,
Sammy
yeah,
Jane.
so
Yes, of
we're
course.
because they're
Flashback.
all
Yeah,
in flashback scenes
yeah.
for
Well, they're in
Leonard,
Leonard's
but
memory
also
from when it
for,
worked.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But Leonard's
Boy,
actually
he liked it.
obviously still working as the investigator for the insurance company, and he's like saying to Sammy's wife at the end, is look, the reason we can't pay out, we're not saying that he doesn't have this condition. The problem is this condition is a mental condition, not a
Well,
physical
psychological
condition.
rather
It's a
than medical is the
psychological
point.
rather
Is the
than a
distinction he's
medical.
making. He's
Exactly.
not saying
And
they're not saying he's faking it. They're saying that it's
no,
not what they yeah, what the doctors
exactly.
say it
And
is.
because
Yeah.
of the type of medical cover
So it's
that
a
they
loophole,
had,
basically.
because so much time has passed, or what we perceive so much time has passed since Leonard had the accident, and how many years he's been trying to find this killer for his wife. And Leonard's been telling the story of Sammy Jenkins over and over again to explain what his condition is about and to explain it to himself. Is we kind of get this tantalized image that Leonard is Sammy Jenkins, and it's the reason he's not with his wife anymore is what happened with Sammy is actually what happened to Leonard, but Leonard's kind of forgotten that because of his memory issues. It's quite a really interesting point. You'll see what I mean when you get to watch the film in a bit of detail.
I mean,
So
this is
yeah.
the thing, isn't it?
Mm,
I was going through the movie thinking, because I've seen the film a few times, but I hadn't seen it for a while. And for some
mm.
reason, I think I will this time because of this of doing this episode. But every time I've watched it before, I can never remember how it ends or who the
Yes.
killer is.
Yeah,
And of
exactly.
course, I mean, yeah, we're spoiling the
Mm,
shit out of the ending now.
yeah.
But yeah, basically, Leonard killed his wife in
Mm,
this exact way we've been describing, because the Sammy Jenkins character
hmm.
never existed. Leonard
Yeah.
has made him up in his post-accident
Hmm.
imagination, I guess,
Yeah.
to cope with the fact that he's the one who killed his wife. There was no assailant. There
No,
was
no.
no. His wife
Hmm.
had diabetes, and he was giving her injections, and there's little
Hmm.
visual clues when he's pinching her
Yeah,
skin and all this kind of thing. Although I
exactly.
think even that is, maybe you disagree, but I feel like
It's
there was even some
suggestive.
ambiguity about
It
that. Like
leaves
maybe
it
that's
ambiguity. It's not. Yeah, that's what I like
that is
about it.
a reading of the ending, not
Exactly.
necessarily, or
Yeah.
a reading of what's happened, not
Um,
necessarily. Or it's the
and
beauty of the
also,
film.
also,
It gives you these ideas, you know.
well, it gives you a bit more ideas, particularly if you've read the story. If you've read Jonathan Nolan's story, the original novel of
Which I
this,
haven't.
which actually is in one of the extras. It's him reading it because it's quite a short story. It's about half an hour
Oh
long.
yeah, yeah.
And that's interesting because obviously the original story and the screenplay are very different from each other.
It actually, I mean, and this kind of ties back
Mm.
to what you're saying about watching it in chronological order.
Yeah.
It's actually quite not ordinary in a bad way, but it's a pretty ordinary kind of noir thriller. And
Mm,
actually, if
yeah.
you think about
Hmm.
it, what the film's doing, regular sort of forward mystery thrillers actually
Mm.
do, in terms of plot structure and narrative structure, they actually do much the same thing as this film
Yeah.
does. They introduce an idea and then
Hmm.
explain it
Like, yeah.
later, like, at the end of an Agatha Christie thing,
Yeah. It's a murder
Hercule Poirot
mystery,
gets
sort of like,
everyone in the
yeah.
room and explains,
And
and
how it was
spells
all
out who the
done. Yeah.
yeah how is it who the murderer was and what happened. The only difference here is it's shown later when it happened
Happened
earlier,
to, yeah. Exactly.
rather than
Yeah.
explaining what happened. You know what I
Mm.
mean? It actually shows it later, which is a sort of refinement of the show don't tell principle of cinema, isn't it?
Very, very
That
much
idea.
so. Yeah. How's your perception of this film changed over the years? With the numbers of times you may have watched it.
Well, I mean, as I said, I don't think I've seen it that many times. I mean,
Mm.
enough times to sort of remember quite a lot about it and certain details and certain scenes and certain lines of, maybe not lines of
Hmm.
dialogue, but certain moments and things. But ironically enough, well, appropriately perhaps, every
Mm.
time I watch it, I sort of forget. I've sort of forgotten what happens. I don't know if that's I don't
Yeah.
know if that's a function of the film or a function of my
Mm.
faulty memory, or what, or just age. I don't know. I
Yeah.
think I don't think I've actually seen it enough times to really.
Mm.
All I know, although it is, I will say this is one of those films where, because I haven't seen it as many times as I think I have, every time
Hmm.
I watch it, I go, "Oh, this film's brilliant. Why don't I watch this
Yeah.
film more often?"
I know exactly. I was
It's
going to
one of
say,
those
in some
for
ways,
me.
I'm glad that I haven't had it for quite some time because every time I do
Yeah.
get to watch it, I enjoy it a hell of a lot more because you're right.
Yes.
You kind of forget how good it is and you
Yes.
forget the structure. And you're right. It's like, hang on, how does this get worked out? You kind of know the overall, what actually happens at the end of the movie, or but you don't know how they get there.
Do you think the film has a sort of traditional three act structure? I mean, you know, the three, just in case people don't know, the
Um,
three act structure is
mm,
exposition, complication, resolution, or as my
yes, I
one of
do.
my
I think.
film studies teachers said, Act one, get your hero up a tree. Act two, throw rocks at him. Act three, get him down again. And I think Act one is
Mm,
like, yeah, it introduces all main players. Act two is all movement from one difficult situation to the next,
into
like the
night,
scene in
yeah.
the hotel room with the guy in the cupboard, which
Hmm.
we'll talk about in a minute, maybe.
Mm,
And then Act three is like, never answer the phone.
yeah.
He finds a tattoo on himself with
Self,
never
yeah.
answer the phone on it after he spent the whole
Mm,
movie in black and white talking on the phone.
hmm.
And then he sort of finds the thing, and then it's like that's the plot point to rug pull, and it's like
Yeah.
suddenly true natures and motivations of the characters, Natalie and Teddy, are
Hmm.
revealed, and we find out what they've really been doing all this time. They're
Yeah.
both. I mean, it's. What do you think? Do you think it's a pretty? I mean, well, I guess because you were saying like it's quite an when you watch it forwards,
Mm.
it's
Oh well,
almost
yeah.
like making
It's
it in
when you
reverse.
watch it
It's a
forwards,
distraction
it's very easily
from
structured.
from how
You can see
conventional it
it.
actually is.
It's
Maybe I
it's
don't
very
know.
constructed, conventionally constructed, and that's fine. But then, in some ways, as movie nerds, we're too used to that. This kind of
True.
takes it. You've got the information you need from each basic, what you get from Act One, Act Two, and Act Three.
Yeah, if you
It's
boil it
just
down, yeah, it's
feels a
yeah.
bit more jumbled up. That's why you get this kind of, well, is there the same as what you would normally get in the movie? Yes, it is. All the information is there. It just feels a bit more jumbled.
Just like to say though that uh, you know, I don't want to give the impression that I think the film is somehow a con or a cheat or something trying to look
Mm,
clever. I'm not, I don't mean it like that.
no.
I'm just saying that because even if it did play out, I mean, I haven't watched it as you have in
Mm,
chronological order, but the performances are still great. The script is still really, the
hmm.
dialogue is still really
Yeah,
good. The
brilliant.
even if it is kind of a more conventional thing, it's still really well done in every
Mm,
other aspect. And all the other
yeah.
stuff we've been saying about cinematography and the look of the film and everything is all still that's all
Mm,
still there. So
yeah.
regardless of the structure of the plot,
Mm,
uh, the dialogue is speaking of the dialogue. I mean, it's very like very film noir. It's very dry. It's very witty. It's
mm,
sardonic, which is it's very noir, but it's also very British, which I
yeah.
thought was interesting. That it's a British director taking on a kind of LA
Mm,
noir kind of
yeah.
vibe, LA noir kind of tradition. His take on that tradition, which I thought was
Mm.
was and it's actually quite a happy marriage, isn't it? It kind of works.
If you do watch it in that kind of forwards order, the special edition one, that particular scene where Natalie gets beaten up by Leonard,
Mm.
because she's just winding him up and she knows
Yeah,
what she's doing, and then obviously goes out, sits in the car for 5 minutes, and then come backs in, knowing that he can't remember, and she's taken all
yeah,
the pens out of the room as well,
yeah.
so he
That
can't
great,
write anything
yeah.
down,
Because
which is
because that scene when we watch it, it starts
yeah.
with her hiding all the pens, and we're like, why is
Pens,
she
and you're like,
hiding? What's she
What's going
doing?
on?" And
And
then
then you realize,
obviously, yeah, she
as he
comes
does
back and she
or
pretends
doesn't,
that someone else has beaten her up,
yeah, the guy
and
that she wants
he's
him
then
to
going to go
take
off
out,
and protect her and take out this
yeah,
person
yeah.
that's done her over, and it was actually him that beat her up in the first place because of what she was trying to
Because she
manipulate
was
to do.
saying
Yeah.
about
Now,
his
when you
not that
watch
I'm
that,
excusing it, but she was saying stuff about his dead wife and how much of a c word
yeah.
she was. She uses the
Exactly.
c word,
Now, when you watch that in the special
carrot.
version, it still has a punchiness to it, but you
Oh,
see it in a kind
interesting.
of, you do see it in the kind of like a normal layout, and you can see how they're doing it and why she's doing it, and that's fine. And it looks like really nasty. When you watch it in the way the film does it, I think it feels even worse because you know how she's overly manipulating that situation based on what you've previously seen. So
and you still sort of, I suppose, if you watch it in that order, you're watching it thinking, why is he suddenly being so horrible to him?
Mm,
And then actually,
yeah.
we don't know why. Like, it's in a way, maybe that's an example where we have even more empathy with Leonard because he doesn't
Mm,
know what's going on either.
exactly.
Why is she
And you
saying?
can
Why is she
see
suddenly? Why is she
how,
winding me up? Why is she
yeah,
making me angry? Or
Teddy and Natalie, that they are both manipulating Leonard, in their
as it
own
turns out, yeah, which we, yeah.
ways.
I mean, it's
Um,
kind of, in a way, it's, I suppose if you've seen movies before, you're kind of
mm,
suspicious of them from the start, aren't you, in a
yeah.
way? Because just the genre and everything is like, okay, so
Mm,
there is only friends, there's only people, the only people we see him talk to really in any
yeah.
detail. And we know that he's got this condition, so are they taking advantage of him? It's always
Yeah.
going to be at the back of our minds. And then, of course, as it turns
But
out,
it plays out. You can see it more and
but we
more and
don't
more.
know exactly how
To the
or
simple
why or
point,
who.
yeah.
Yeah,
If you take like Teddy, for instance, he's always called him Lenny, and he knows he
it
doesn't
winds him
like
up.
being called Lenny.
Yeah.
So, but he does it time and over and over and
Mm.
over and over again. It's just this, yeah, you just get to see
That's
how
that's a clue right
much,
there, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, two of the other main characters are just constantly manipulating him and using him to their own advantage and just, yeah, for horrible outcomes. So,
There's also, but I mean, we might be making it sound a bit sort of grim and depressing, which
mm,
in a way it is, but or if you
yeah.
prefer, if you like to think of it that way. But there are also, moments of absurd comedy or even
Oh, yeah. It's
or
brilliant.
humor, not comedy, but
Yeah.
humor and even farce. Like I said earlier, the guy, there's a scene where Leonard wakes up in a hotel room with a empty bottle of whiskey in his hand and like
Yeah, I love
sitting on the
that.
toilet, like, where am I? What's going on?
Yeah,
What? I'm not, I don't. He's got the bottle
exactly. And
going.
you've got,
I don't
yeah.
feel drunk.
Okay. Yeah.
And then he goes in the room and he goes in the wardrobe. And there's a guy, what's his name, Callum Keith, Rennie, the Canadian actor, and
Well,
he's
no,
like,
no, no, no.
and he's all
If you,
tied up, isn't he? And
no, no, you're getting that back to front. You've just got that back to
have I?
front, which is really funny. Yeah, he's on the toilet, and that's when his
Oh,
memories just kicked in, and
yeah.
he's like, right, okay, then, I don't feel drunk. Why am I holding this bottle?
You
And
see,
what's going?
I'm
Yeah,
reordering the film into
you're
proper order in
reordering.
my
But
head, in my
then at that
memory.
point,
Oh,
he's like,
see,
he's got no idea
isn't it? It's
why
so
he's sitting
clever.
on the toilet with a whiskey bottle in his hand,
Yeah.
and then he sniffs himself, and he's like, God, I feel really sweaty. Takes his clothes off and has a shower because he thinks he's in his hotel room,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then he comes out, he falls asleep. And then he, wakes
Oh,
up, and this
then
guy's
finds him.
coming back that he's just been chasing. That he's gone to his hotel room to
Yeah,
get a
and they had a
jump on
fight
him,
and
and
everything.
that's why he's got the whiskey bottle in his hand to do him over when he comes in. But his mind's gone at that point, and he's just
Yeah.
started to do. Yeah, it's brilliant. It
And this
really
is in
is
Act
so
Two, as I
well
said,
knitted.
throwing
See,
throwing
you're
rocks at your
watching it and
hero.
going,
Just
"What's this? Why is this
yeah.
happening
Who's
this
this
way round?
character? Where did he
What's he
come
doing
from?
here?" And then the next scene after it gives you a clue of why the thing you've just previously makes sense. And this is what the whole movie is about.
Yeah,
You
the whole
just
movie is like that.
you're as you're watching it, it makes
I
more
think that
sense as you go through, and that's why you enjoy it more because it's like, what is going on? Why is he
there's
doing
more of
this
that in Act
now?
Two, I think, isn't there? Like the
Yeah,
bit with the spitting in the beer as well,
mm,
where she gives him a
exactly.
beer in the pub and or in the
Mm,
bar, and she says she gives him a beer, says it's on the house, and
yeah,
there's a guy sitting at the bar like chuckling to himself when he drinks it, and he's like, "What's he
yeah,
laughing at? I don't know." And
yeah,
then the next scene, which happened earlier, we
hmm
see that they all gobbed in it to
yeah,
test his thing of saying, "I've got a memory problem." They're like,
yeah,
oh yeah, go on, mate, you just spitting it as well."
yeah,
And then she waits a minute, lets his memory go, and then puts it on the table and says, "Yeah, on the house,"
yeah,
and he drinks it, and it's like, and that's actually like, that's gross out comedy at that point, isn't it?
exactly.
That's like really
I
horrible.
also like the comedy bit where he's using the Polaroids where Teddy's trying to get the car off of him. So he's always trying to get in the car, and there's a reason he's trying to get into the car. And, I
Oh
know you've got the
yes,
spoiler
yeah.
card up at the moment, but I will not say that because it is kind of
Okay.
interesting bit. But yeah, he's
I'm
like
gonna need to
saying,
spoil the colour for
yeah,
most of this
exactly.
episode. Actually, I might as well just leave it. Do what you said and
Um,
just stick it over
yeah,
there.
stick
Yeah.
it in the background.
Yeah, there you go.
But there's a bit where Teddy's like trying to get the sports car off of him because there's basically money in the boot. Okay, that
Yeah.
Teddy's trying to get hold of. And he holds up the Polaroid and it's got written at the bottom of the picture of the car, my car, and he's going, "Oh, you're paying funny today."
And it does leaven the kind of you know the, the darkness of the story because it is a
Mm.
pretty depressing story, but it's quite a bleak
Well,
story, really.
well, all noir stories are kind of bleak, you know.
Yeah, of
They
course.
they
Yeah, and
are. I
all of the
mean,
downer endings and all that kind
well,
of thing.
exactly.
Yeah. There's an important line of dialogue which I think gets repeated later
Mm,
on, when Leonard says, "The world doesn't just disappear when you close your eyes, does it?"
yeah.
Which introduces the, or not introduces, but sort of crystallizes the theme of what is reality, and
Hmm.
how, like we were saying earlier, how memory informs real or creates reality,
Yeah.
perception of time, and
Hmm.
healing, and all that kind of thing. And like we trust the evidence of our eyes, don't we? But like, is
Yes.
that enough? I mean, like
Hmm.
Plato's allegory of the cave and all that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Um, and the other another line he says, and I think maybe only once, but he says it's all about context. Like when he was an insurance investigator,
Hmm.
he says, like, it's all about making his investigations, figuring out the truth from what he can from the evidence. It's all about the context of that evidence, and like so when he
Mm.
was an insurance investigator, he relied on context, but now he doesn't have context anymore because he can't make
No,
new memories. There is no
exactly.
context, so
Yeah.
he's kind of doomed, isn't he?
The thing I really love about this movie is the concept of time and how
Mm,
we perceive time because we're linear in time. We are just moving
yeah,
through time. We're
in
creating
one direction.
in one direction. We can't go backwards or forwards. We just move through time.
We can only
So we're
go
creating
forwards.
new memories all the time. But this is one person that can't create new memories. So his
He keeps going
perception
back a
of
bit and then back a
he
bit
goes
and then
his
back a
only
bit.
perception to go
Yeah.
back is him going back potentially 5 years. Um,
Or whatever it is. Yeah.
or
However long it
whatever
is,
it
we
is,
don't
because
know.
we don't get a proper understanding how long it's been since his wife actually died. Or did his wife actually die? Which is
Or
another
did he?
clue to it, yeah.
Well, I wondered
But
about that as well. At the points when I was watching the film, as I said,
mm,
I couldn't remember how it ends. When I watched it last week,
mm,
again, I was thinking, I remember thinking to myself at one point, is she dead?
is she
I'm
dead,
not
or
sure.
did she just leave him, or is that he is Sammy Jenkins
Or is he
story
Sammy Jankis? Yeah, yeah.
is his story, and he's just like used oh the trauma of him killing his wife has just come up with the idea of Sammy Jenkins instead of him. So,
He's gone
but
to extraordinary lengths to cope with his trauma by
yeah,
making up
exactly.
this whole
Yeah,
thing
and
in his
trauma
mind,
does
this whole
enormous
character.
things to our memories
Like
as
a
well.
storyteller does, like
Yeah,
storytellers do.
I
We
mean,
make, if you're a story, if you're a writer or a creative person, you use your art to process your trauma. That's
yeah,
kind of what Leonard's doing in his
exactly.
mind.
So it's interesting to kind of play, or what Christopher Nolan's done with this idea of playing with the idea of trauma and the idea of time and the lack of
And
time and what the lack
amnesia
of
and
time can do
what
with
that
us.
can mean.
Yeah,
And
and amnesia. I want to come on to this actually about amnesia. What's really interesting about this film is a form of amnesia. This medical condition.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not. We don't
anterograde
make new
amnesia. Yeah,
times. It's not a made up thing. It is a real
yeah,
thing
it's
that
a real
some
thing. Yeah,
people
yeah.
sadly suffer from. But what I found really interesting about this particular film is most films, when you've got a character with amnesia, it's kind of really easy to kind of write a character with amnesia because with that character, you can do whatever you want with them. You could make them out to be the villain, you could make them out to be the victim, you could make them out to be a murderer because they have this kind of like lack of memory. They don't know what's happened before because all they don't know any previous memory, so they don't know anything about themselves
It's a
previously
reset, but it
from
only
an
resets once, doesn't it? Like
it's a
you
one
don't remember who
reset.
you are.
So
But
normally
this
in a
is the opposite,
film,
isn't it? This
exactly
is the
in a normal
opposite.
film,
Leonard
you've
knows
got
who he is.
new memories of
Yeah,
this person, but this person doesn't know who they are, and yeah,
yeah,
we've got to work out what this backstory is
yeah.
of this person who's lost their memory. This film,
It's the
we've
opposite. It's
it's
complete
completely the
opposite.
opposite. We've got
Yeah.
a backstory of what this
He
previous
knows that. He
person
knows
felt,
all that.
but we
It's
got
just everything
this
since.
person's got no idea what's going on. The idea of their previous life now is actually being distorted through time and our perception in this
Yeah.
movie, and I like that.
Yeah.
I
It's
think it's a
really interesting.
brilliant use of a character. Um,
Brilliant
so
use of a
yeah,
premise, of a basic
exactly.
premise. I mean,
Yeah.
I wonder if it started out as some sort of like writers group exercise, like write a story about
Mm.
amnesia, uh, that isn't like every other bloody story about amnesia or something like that. Like
Well,
that, but it's not the, or write a story about anterograde
well,
amnesia where it's the opposite. And maybe that was the idea. Maybe that was the seed of of the idea for writing the story, Jonathan
Well,
Nolan writing the short story in the first place. I don't know.
yeah. One thing that annoyed
And
me about this film, and this is just one of those practical things, is actually I could be wrong about this, but why he didn't just keep a pen in his pocket? Because obviously, if he has to make notes all the time,
yeah,
he should always have a pen. And I'm surprised he didn't always have like at least like five pens attached to his trousers or his shirt or his jacket pocket, so he always
what he
had
does.
access to a
Oh well.
pen.
Oh, just generally,
Yeah,
why isn't he loaded
because
down
he's
with
always having
a
to make
dozen
notes so he
pens?
can remember something. Surely he would have got into a pattern where he would
Well,
start.
there's only one. Well, I suppose because then you wouldn't have it's a writer's trick to get him in that scene where
Yeah,
she
exactly.
hides all the
Yeah,
pens, isn't it? Really. Well, let's talk about the characters. There's only
yeah.
three sort of
Three main
characters
characters.
of interest and
Yeah.
three persons of interest.
Mm-hmm.
There's Leonard Shelby, the main
B.
character, the guy with the
Mm-hmm.
amnesia, played by Guy Pearce.
Yes. Yeah.
Mike from Neighbours.
Mm-hmm.
He is interesting casting because
Mm.
he's sort of like, and I think this is kind of a screen persona of his anyway. That he's played characters like this in other films. He's kind of slick and in control on the surface, but he's got this kind of inner turmoil or something else
Mm.
going on. He's got that kind of like
Bit like
he's a bit like I think Hitchcock would have loved him. Because he's got
oh
that kind of like
definitely.
he's
Yeah.
got that kind of Hollywood screen idol kind of look, but
Mm.
underneath there's some. He can
Well,
play some
I
weird
think
shit
that's why he
if he
worked
needs
so
to.
well in LA Confidential because it was not exactly, but
Yes,
a similar
there's hidden
type of
depths to his
character.
character as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, he's kind of
Yeah.
Captain America on the surface. He's
Mm.
all like noble and
Yeah.
righteous and everything, but we'll talk about LA Confidential in
Bit
another
for another
episode, I'm
time. Yeah.
sure.
Hmm.
But of course, the ironic thing about him is he's got no control because of his
No,
condition. It's like
exactly.
he's sort of like he sort of spends all his time. It's all
Mm.
like trying to fool other people into thinking he's a regular guy, but
Yeah.
he's the fool. He's sort of
Well,
like he's trying to because he keeps getting caught out. Like he sort of comes and saying, "Let me tell you about my condition," and they're like, "Yeah, you told me 4 times already."
times. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
And it's sort of like it sort of shrinks. And he is a little bit. He can come off as a little bit smug, can't he?
Yeah, he can.
But
Mm.
but it's kind of. But we sort of feel sympathetic for him because of his condition. It kind of undermines the kind of self-control aspect of his character. It's kind of makes him sort of likable. I mean, the tyranny of likable characters and all that shit.
Mm.
But it makes him sort of sympathetic
Teddy, kind of reminds him that time has passed since his wife has died,
since
and
the
that
accident.
he
Yeah,
has actually already found the killer. And there's a picture of him really smiley face and pointing at himself,
yeah.
and
At
it's
the
like
end,
that.
many
That's
many
when, yeah,
times,
many
he's found
times.
the killer. Many
And of
killers.
course, Teddy has used it multiple times to get rid of other people to
Extrajudicial
pretend
killings,
it.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Uh,
right.
and
Because Teddy's
but
a
but
cop, and yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it's a
but
corrupt cop,
obviously
basically. Yeah.
Teddy sort of like brings up the point that you're not the man you used to be. You are a different person now than the person you used to be. And obviously Leonard's got no concept of this at all.
By the time
Passed
these big
away.
revelations come
Mm,
out, it's almost like, but are these big revelations bullshit as well? We don't
mm,
know.
no, that's
And
it.
that's the beauty of it.
It's all
Not in a
subjective.
way that
Yeah,
it's all exactly. It's all subjective from the
yeah,
point of view of the characters and from the point of view of
hmm,
every individual member of the audience.
yeah,
It's a movie that the more you engage with it, it doesn't. It's a movie that demands you to sort of not just sit there and passively
mm,
consume or absorb it through
yeah,
osmosis. It's like you've got to engage with it,
yeah,
which is true of a lot of
yeah.
most great films, really. But
Mm, exactly.
you know,
And that's
yeah,
why, in some ways people might say this isn't an easy watch. It's a film you want to watch when you're a bit switched on, because you're going to enjoy it more because you've got to work
yeah,
things out.
yeah.
But there's also a very
But that's a
rewarding
good thing.
film. Yeah, exactly. It's very,
Yeah.
very rewarding where you're like, that's it. That
Mm.
connects to this, and this is how this is playing out with this, and there's so much stuff that that the latter of Act Two and Act Three really sort of like give you a lot more information. You're like, oh my God, he's he's kind of he's a detective because obviously he's trying to figure out who's killed his wife, but he's a detective who doesn't know anything. which is kind of the opposite of what a detective is. A
He doesn't
detective
know
is
he's a
someone who's,
detective.
yeah, he doesn't
So
know he's detective, but he's also a detective that doesn't know anything because he's got no memories. So he's constantly going back to, research, files and
he's
everything else, which,
going over
most detectives, he's going over the same stuff again and
the
again
same
and again
details
and
over and
again,
over
even
again
though he's
without
done it
realizing it. Yeah, yeah.
thousands of times. Um,
And
and
people
yeah,
take advantage of that.
exactly. People take a lot of advantage of
Yes,
that.
as it turns
And
out.
yeah,
We won't
exactly.
divulge exactly how and
Mm,
who and why or how
yeah.
and everything, but
Yeah, it's a very interesting but very layered character,
mm,
and yeah, you just really do enjoy discovering more and more things about this character. So yeah, I
because he
really
can't
enjoy.
discover them from himself, because
You
every time he
can't
discovers the things about himself, he forgets them again 20 minutes later.
exactly.
Again,
Yeah.
the great irony of the film, isn't it?
Mm.
Every revelation is only revealed to us or the other
Us.
characters. It's never
Yeah.
revealed to,
It's
well, the other characters
never
already know.
revealed to him.
Leonard never
Yeah.
learns anything.
We get to learn
He's
so
a
more
tragic
than that. It
character,
is a
isn't he?
complete tragedy. It really
Yeah,
is. And
yeah, and
at
he's
the
a
end of
tragic
it, what
character.
I like, what I'm interested
Oh,
in, very, very end of the film, is
yeah.
obviously when the other two major characters are now no longer in the picture. What's he doing then? He's just going to carry on.
Yeah,
He
exactly. He's just going
can't
to go back
stop.
to the beginning.
He's just going to go back to the beginning, and
What's the
he
last line of the film? Now, where was
yeah.
I?
We
Never
talk
mind.
about Teddy because
Yeah, yeah,
obviously Teddy plays a major part with Leonard, but
yeah.
Teddy is a
And I'm going to
cop.
leave the spoiler card on
You might as well.
because Leonard
Yeah.
dies in the opening. Sorry, Teddy dies in the
Teddy
opening scene,
dies at the beginning, and you're
which is a
like, "Oh my
spoiler at the
god, how
beginning
is
of the
it?" Yeah,
film,
it's just
which is the
a
end.
spoiler, but
But he's quite.
again,
I mean, he's quite on the again on the surface.
mm,
Teddy. Sorry, I keep saying Leonard.
yeah,
Talk about
Teddy
Leonard
is
too
coming
much.
across
Teddy
as
is
this,
quite. He comes off
yeah,
as quite sort of friendly and harmless looking. He's got a kind of.
mm,
He's got a goofy. He's
yeah.
got a tash. He's got a sort of good dorky haircut. He's kind of like Joe Pantoliano plays
I
Teddy,
was
by the
about to
way.
say who played, yeah.
Yes, sorry, I
I
didn't
wouldn't
say.
have got the
He's
surname right. I know I wouldn't, and yeah,
Joey Pants. Just call him
yeah,
Joey Pants.
yeah,
I'm sure he really loves being called that.
yeah,
So he's kind of on on the surface. He sort of seems like, oh, he's just trying to help or whatever.
hmm
But on the Polaroid, someone, well, I mean, we
yeah.
know it's Leonard at some point has written, "Don't believe his
It's his
lies."
lies,
And
yeah.
as the plot develops, we find out why, and etc. etc.
hmm
And almost to the very end, we're never sure if he is untrustworthy or just an innocent
Mm.
victim of, because we know he's dead at the
Well,
beginning.
yeah, he is the police officer that helped him find his wife's killer
Yeah,
originally, and
yeah,
that's how they know each other.
yeah,
And then basically once because Teddy figures out that as a cop, there are people that always get away evading justice, and when justice
yeah.
does catch up to him, there's never a sufficient amount of justice. So he was quite happy for Leonard to find this
To
guy
use
and
Leonard for that.
take this guy
Yeah,
out. But
yeah.
then obviously once that's happened, Teddy's then realised that this is an individual he could use to, you know,
He can
unsway
do this. He can do this every
he could
month
do this every month
until he
exactly, and
gets
you
too
could
old
just
or knackered to
allude
do
him
it.
to take certain people out that really should be taken out. And yeah,
Yes, he's morally
in some
dubious to
ways,
say the
it's
least.
very morally dubious.
Yeah.
And towards the end of it, yeah, Teddy kind of gets his comeuppance from
Well, at the
using
beginning,
someone
it's
like this.
yeah, the sort of banality of evil of this guy who looks like a regular, ordinary guy, but he's actually
Mm,
doing these terrible things.
mm.
Or is he? I mean, you can tie yourself in knots asking these
You
questions
good?
about the
Yeah,
movie, which is one of the marks of a great movie.
mm,
That you tie yourself in knots thinking about it and
yeah.
making YouTube channels where you get to talk about it for an hour or so. Should we move on to Natalie,
Natalie, yeah,
played by Carrie Ann Moss,
and Moss, yeah.
also recently co-starred with Joe Pantoliano in The Matrix, of course.
But they don't actually share a scene
Yeah, they don't show any
at
scene
all.
together.
So.
Because
Um,
which makes sense because in a way everything's got to be through Leonard's perspective,
Leonard's
hasn't it?
perspective, yeah,
We've
exactly.
always got to see it with. I mean, you could have a scene with the three of them, but I think it's
Mm,
better that you don't. That you have him just
yeah,
trying to understand Natalie. We're trying to understand Natalie through his eyes, and we're trying to
yeah,
understand Teddy through his eyes. I guess if you put them both in the scene, all three of them in the scene, you're trying to understand these two characters and they're interacting with each other. It gives another.
yeah,
That's probably too complicated, then I suppose. I don't
exactly.
know,
But
but
yeah,
anyway, Natalie is. I think she's one of the few female characters in any Christopher Nolan film who has
mm,
any agency or even personality. She is kind of a Natalie is kind of a femme fatale, isn't she? In the traditional sense, she's
Yes.
cool as ice.
Yeah.
Very, which is Carrie Ann Moss has played that kind of. I mean, Trinity in the Matrix, she's like that. Her
She's
character
brilliant
in
at it.
Jessica Jones
Yeah.
TV series was very cool,
Hmm.
very
Yeah.
slightly sarcastic, slightly kind of mean, slightly nasty. Not
Hmm.
nasty. She's got a nasty streak in this. Her
Yes,
character in this has
definitely.
a nasty
Yeah.
streak, definitely. Like we were talking about the scene where she turns on Leonard
Hmm.
and then goes outside and waits in the car
But
while he
in
forgets.
some ways, you get a better understanding of that. Again, towards the end of the movie, you understand like why she's done
She's got
that
her own
because
trauma as well. Yeah,
she's got her own trauma to deal with
yeah,
because
own
she's
history.
she's just found out that her boyfriend's been murdered and
Yeah,
she's trying to get a payback on that. So yeah,
using Leonard as her
Leonard, yeah, to get
revenge
back on the
avatar
person
sort of
that
thing. Yeah.
got her partner murdered in the first place.
The motivations are all kind of they're all solid. They're all
Yeah.
they're all kind of understandable, if
Hmm.
not necessarily defensible, but they're understandable.
No, exactly.
Um, and the ending, I mean, the ending of the film generally, it pulls off this really clever trick of being it's satisfying, but it's
Hmm.
also, like we said earlier, it's also open to interpretation. It could all be made up, but
Mm.
in fact, I think the satisfaction for the viewer kind of lies in the fact that it's open to interpretation, because we've been saying you can go back and watch it again, and each time you
Hmm.
watch it you might think differently of how you might have a different idea about what's actually happening at the end, or what's actually happened, what you've just seen.
Yeah.
It's more, like we were saying before, the more you engage with it, the
Hmm.
more rewarding, the more the film rewards you.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of little outstanding questions
Mm.
that occurred to me when I was watching the film this
Yeah.
time. And it's a bit like, it's the sort of questions that, those people who watch movies just in order to look for plot holes. But I did have a couple of questions
Mm.
that occurred to me on this rewatch. And maybe they're stupid. I'm gonna take the risk
Yeah,
and
go
ask
for
them
it.
anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe you just immediately go, well, obviously because of this.
Mm.
Um, Number one, there's only two. Number
Mm.
one, how does Leonard remember his revenge plan? Now, assuming he got the
Yeah.
knock on the
Hmm.
head when his wife died,
Yeah.
or when
Yeah.
at that moment, then
Hmm.
ever since then it's been the 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So if his last memory was the death of his wife, I mean, so does he, like, every time his brain resets, does he think up the plan again?
Yeah, exactly.
Because
No, I
that's kind of,
thought of
that
this
doesn't quite make
before. I
sense,
thought
does
of
it?
this. I think obviously the amnesia sort of didn't kick in immediately from him waking.
That's your lampshade, is
It's
it? Okay, like the
yeah,
yellow one against
it's
the blue wall.
exactly. It's a
Fair
bit like
enough.
trauma. It is a bit like trauma. So obviously,
Mm,
after it
yeah,
happened, he's
it's not
like
like click,
dealing with the fact that oh my God, my wife's died and all the rest of it, and then
and
you
then
know it.
it's
Yeah,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's a kind of
It's
like a
not
wave
that.
coming
It's
over. Yeah, it's not the
yeah.
immediate. My wife's dead because then he'd be waking up like, where am I? Where's my wife? Because if it
What's a
was
good
immediately,
explanation? I like that. Thank you. That
um,
answers my question.
that's all right.
My other question was,
Mm,
and we may have covered this actually thinking about it, but the first time, well, I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because you've watched it in the
mm,
forward order, in chronological order, the
yeah.
first time that Natalie meets Leonard
Hmm.
is when she meets him outside the bar when she's chucking the rubbish out and he's sitting in
Yes,
the car and
exactly.
she
Was
knocks on
she
the window because she thinks he's someone else because it's her boyfriend's
then
car, I
in his
think.
clothes?
And yes, of course, yes, because the
Hmm.
guy he kills at the end is her boyfriend, as it turns out.
Yeah.
Okay, so that being the case, did she know who he was before they met?
No,
No, that
no.
was where it all started. Okay,
It's where
okay.
it all
I think
starts.
I just make
Yeah.
that's more of a just I'm making sure I understood the
Mm,
plot
no,
correctly
exactly. Yeah.
because it's quite complicated.
It is. This is an amazing exercise in how we perceive time,
Mhm.
how time and our
Oh, and
perception of
reality.
memory shape the world we live in, or the perception of the world that we live in, or the
Because
perception
we
of
make it in our
ourselves.
perception.
Yeah. For the simple fact, as we know, because we're old enough, that with each passing decade you live through, you become a different person. The sort of things that you think and idealize to, you know, 10, 20, 30 years ago, different from what you do now. We do evolve and adapt with time, which is one thing that Leonard can't do. or can't do now.
That is, I'm not
Um,
sure if I agree with the first part of that, but I agree with the second part. Leonard
well,
certainly can't.
you know,
He can't evolve. He
I
can't grow, and he never will. He'll grow old, assuming he
oh
lives
yeah,
long enough, but he
definitely,
won't. He'll never grow.
definitely.
He'll never
Um, but
mature.
yeah, our perception of memory and time is unique to each of us. Um, and this is a lovely exercise in that. And, hopefully it get you to look at your own life and your own timeline.
I think
Mm,
Memento might be Christopher Nolan's best movie.
yes. Yeah,
He's
I'd
certainly
agree.
made bigger films since,
Mm,
of course,
yeah.
but maybe not, in my opinion,
Mm,
maybe not better or more satisfying films. Now,
yeah.
I've watched it, as I said, I've watched it 4 or 5 times, and I think I always forget two things about it, appropriately enough.
Mm,
A, what happens at the end, but B,
yeah.
how bloody brilliant the film is.
Yes. Hmm.
And I think I'm not. I mean, I might as well get this out of the way as well. I'm
Mm.
not a huge Christopher Nolan fan, to be
No,
quite
no,
honest.
we've talked
I
about
think he's.
we.
We've talked about this before. I think he's absurdly overrated.
Mm,
So we probably won't do too many more Christopher Nolan films, but
no.
I will probably forget about that because a bit like the main character in Memento, I'm not very good at making new memories.
Yes. Mm.
So, ladies and
Mm.
gentlemen, and all
Yeah.
points in between,
Hmm.
you know, and neither. Thank you for watching. What can I say?
Yeah,
It means so much that anyone
it
watches
does. Hmm.
fucking rubbish. It really
No,
does.
no, we do appreciate it.
our last episode. We just live
Mm.
info here. We our last
Mm.
episode that we published before recording this,
Hmm.
which was the thing from another world.
Mm.
That episode has had like 160 views. Was it?
Mm. 163 last time we checked.
Which was a
Which
couple of
doesn't
hours ago.
sound much to most YouTube
No, I
viewers,
know.
but
Yes,
we're
yeah,
just
yeah.
starting out, and
Compared to Red Letter Media or
this is all coming.
PewDiePie, it's
We're not
nothing,
doing
but
this for monetary value. We are doing this
which is
just
just
because
as
we love
well.
it, and we're just
Yeah.
mates catching up on a Saturday night, having a drink, and talking about movies. Woohoo!
Which we were doing anyway, and
We
now
were
we're putting
doing
it on
anyway.
YouTube.
We were told to start
You're
doing it on
welcome.
YouTube by
Yeah,
by
yeah. That
people
is
who care
exactly how
about
this
us.
channel started,
Yeah.
and that's how it will continue, I hope.
Mhm.
So thank you very much for watching.
Thank you indeed, and please, yeah, do like and subscribe and keep
Yes,
viewing because we really do appreciate it, and
we
thank you
do.
so much. So to all of our audiences out there across the globe, thank you so much, and we will
Across
see
the
you next
globe.
time. Well, they are, you know, it's
Oh
the
yeah, that's right.
internet.
No. Well, yeah.
So
Thank you,
yeah,
wherever
from the
you are.
bottom of our hearts, thank you so much, and we will see you on the next episode. So from Run with the View, good night.
Good night.